Good morning, good evening, good night. Welcome back to the Yellowjackets breakdown. We're gonna talk about I think this episode was called like Motif or some shit like that, some shenanigans like that. Yellowjackets season 2, episode 3 is titled. Oh, I'm fucking stupid. I said Motif. It's called Digestif. Digestif? 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 Who knows? We're gonna start before I get into the Yellowjackets breakdown, before I get into what happened, who happened, where happened. Tell me how. Ain't nothing. I went to record this. So I set up my mic. I set up everything. Instead, I made some TikToks for my personal page. And then I packed up. I went to lay down for a little bit. I was like, wait a minute. I gotta go do this shit. Can't believe I completely forgot to do that because I saw it was noon. I usually post these at noon. So you probably get this at like 2 p.m. No cap. Anywho, let's start off with the rating for the episode. This episode was solid 7 out of 10 for me. My sister, on the other hand, she rated it a 6.5, depending on her mood, she says. But we open the episode with a shot of a bloody, bony hand. And Coach Ben is laying in his bed, terrorized at the fact that these shorties did what they did. We get a cute flashback with his gay lover. That's exactly the note I wrote. Cute flashback with gay lover. And I was like, oh, he has 2 legs. Missed that for him because he only has the 1 leg currently. Anywho, they're having a conversation. It's something that happened, and we get this flashback all throughout this episode, but it changes subtly every time. But in this particular instance, it's probably what happened where he's talking to his lover. Coach Ben isn't out of the closet yet. He's still working with in the school with the team, and his boyfriend's like, yo, I need somebody like to be like with me, not just be with me when they have the time. If that makes sense. Like, but I kind of knew what he was trying to get at. He was like, hey, you may not be out yet, cool, whatever, but don't like try to justify you not being out because you're working with the school or with the soccer team, even though you don't like soccer apparently. And so now after that, we're going back to the past, and Thaisa is like walking out of the house that they're in or whatever, and the cabin. And so she walks out, she's like, oh my God, something ate Jackie. Oh my God, we gotta do something. We gotta move her. And then Van is like, dude, we ate Jackie. We did. We ate her. Like, we ate her. And Thaisa's like, oh, why did you guys do that? I didn't fucking, like, why did you guys do that? What's wrong with you guys? She's like, yo, you ate her face. She was like, what? And we remember that Thaisa has all these different fucking sleepwalking problems. And so sleepwalking Thaisa ate fucking Jack. Not the regular Thaisa that we know and love. So let's sit with that a little bit. So we realize that she has trauma about eating Jackie, but she did it's like she didn't consent to eating Jackie. She was sleep eating, but with the fact that Van is like, yo, you ate her face. I'm like, you did not have to say that in that way. You know what I'm saying? Like you could have, but like, yeah, you also participated. Like, you know, you were there. Type shit, not like, yo, you were munching on this bitch's nose. Like, don't even play like that. After all that, Natalie wants to bury Jackie, what's left of her at least. So you see her like with a tiny little bag. I was like, what the fuck is that? And it turns out to be like her bones. Like they just fucking put her bones in a little fucking in a little bag. And the coach is like, hey, if you bury them, or else leave it with the plane, and then we'll bury it when the winter's over. But he was like, bury it with the people from the plane, and it'll look like she died during the plane crash. And then he gives them a like, oh no, I'm mistaken. So he said that, he didn't say it that way. He said exactly what I just said, but it was in like an angry, backhanded comment like tone. So he was like, if you bury them with the others, it'll look like she died there, type shit. Like he was being a little sassy. So the way I said it previously was like he was kind of like understanding, trying to hide the fact that they did that. Nah, he was like pretty tight that they did that. We go back to the present, and Natalie is like on some kind of vacation? Question mark? She's like being held hostage against her will, but like by Lottie in the present. Nothing's really happening to Natalie. She's just trying to explain to her what the shit is and what happens at that place she's being held hostage at. So nothing truly really happens there. Then we get the funniest Misty montage ever. My next note says AKA Wet Fog, because I've been watching that Declassified School Survivor Guide on Netflix, and there's a girl named Missy there. I'm like, yo, what's her name, Missy or Misty? And she was like, no, it's Misty, like Wet Fog. So we've now been calling Misty codename AKA Wet Fog. So turns out, remember the guy from the last episode? I was like, yo, look at this weirdo like in the nursing home or whatever. So bro really put his mom in a nursing home just to talk to her. I was like, yo, LMAO fucking Reddit loser. And apparently, this is a quote from Jeff, okay? He was talking about strawberry lube for whatever reason. He was talking about this one particular instance with Shauna, and he was like, lube is for bisexuals and goths. So they were talking about that in the diner. And then that story, like he's telling his story or whatever, and I'm all in my head, I'm like, wow, poor Jeff. I was like, bro's gonna cry in the diner. Basically, he talks about the lube story because he says that was like the first instance Shauna wanted to do something like kinky or like something outside the box, and he blames himself for her cheating on him because he was boring, especially at that moment where he felt like there was they were just the boring people after that. And so I put bro is a puss because immediately after that sad diner conversation, they're driving down, he's going to make a right to go home. Instead, he makes a left in the right-hand lane, by the way, fucking Jeff, because he's like, I want to be spontaneous, I want to be adventurous type shit, and he makes a left, and then he accidentally, quote-unquote, hits a person, and then they get out to check on the person, and the person pulls out a gun on them, and he's like, yo, give me the car right now, and then Jeff's like, all right, he's like, give me the keys, he's like, yo, I don't got the keys are in the car, and then Shauna's like, not about to take that shit, so she takes the gun from the robber, and she points it at him, and then Jeff gets in the way, and the guy steals the car anyway, the minivan, and Jeff's like, whoa, what the fuck are you gonna do, kill him? In my head, I'm like, yeah, shoot the fucking guy, come on. Like, I put he's a puss because of that. You saw Shauna had control over the gun. You could have just, like, if you wanted to be manly or whatever, you could have just shot the ones with him, and then everything would have been fine, but he lets them lose their minivan, and they gotta fucking walk home out of all places. They clearly weren't anywhere near home because they looked like they were pretty far. But Shauna had the Glock, and Jeff really let that guy go, which was the biggest disappointment of the episode so far. Shauna gives this like little speech about like the shit that was in the car. She's like, "Oh, Mr. Shoesums is in there," and she's like, and Jeff's like, "Who?" She's like, "Mr. Shoesums, Kaylee. I call her Calorie." He's like, oh, her favorite bear. I bet you she loves that bear more than she ever loved me type shit. And then my sister goes, is Lottie seeing Mr. Shoesums? Because we know there's like a demon that we see like throughout the episodes. It's like a kind of theme. So what if Mr. Shoesums is this demon that's haunting the girls? We'll never know until the end of the season. Anywho, we approach the end of that scene, and then my last note on the carjacking scene, I was like, oh, someone tried to steal their car, and Shauna had them by the balls, and Jeff let him go, shaking my head. I was still pretty pissed that Jeff did that. I feel like Jeff was on his own redemption arc type shit, and he kind of like just like went back a few steps because of that. There's this scene where Lottie is showing Natalie the bees, and she says that after the bees lay eggs, queen bee eggs, apparently. How do they make queen bee eggs? Question mark. Special bees? Special peas that make special bees? I don't know. But anyway, Lottie says after a queen bee is born, they go around killing the other queen bee eggs. And she's like, that's weird. And then she's like, well, it's natural. It's part of life. That's what they do. You get your queen bee, and then that's it. It's over. It's their turn. Type shit. And then we go back to the past, and Lottie is talking about Shauna's baby, and apparently like there's like little hints that it's gonna be a boy, but how the fuck would anyone know it's gonna be a boy? Anyway, I wrote Def gonna eat Shauna's baby, LOL, R.I.P. Shauna's son. And there was this white figure that we see that Taissa sees, And I don't think that's Mr. Shoesums, but we called him Michael Jackson at the last episode. So what I think is they're gonna sacrifice the baby to Michael Jackson, type shit, like that white demon or whatever. I mean, he literally looked like Michael Jackson the quick second that we saw him, but I think they're gonna donate it to him by quote unquote eating it. I think Lottie is like a Satanist with schizo type shit. I don't know where she's leading us in the past. I don't even trust her in the present, in these current like not flashback scenes. So she's sus across the entire board. Anyway, we get after that Misty montage, we get back to the present, and she is with Reddit Boy, and he calls himself he's missing his Sherlock. So whoever his Watson, he's like, I'm the Watson without a Sherlock type shit. So he's definitely a bottom. He's trying to bottom for Misty right now, and they're interrogating some guy, right? And turns out Randy, Jeff's best friend, pulls up like, because he's the guy that they're going to interrogate. And Misty's like, you fucking idiot. I know that guy all the way since freaking high school. He's going to know it's me, obviously. And they're like, oh, they're scrambling to do so. Misty is leading him through the interrogation of her friend. We, as the viewers, we're watching this interrogation. He thinks he's being interrogated about the robbery that he and Jeff did from the girls, about the $50,000 in cash type shit. And so he thinks he's getting interrogated for that. And then the quote unquote cop asks him about Natalie. He's like, Natalie, you want to talk about that? She's like, yeah, you've been staying at the same place that she's been staying at. And he's like, oh yeah, but it's like, she's like a druggie. And I'm like, yo, not Randy calling our girl Nat a druggie. So then we flash back to the past as that interrogation is progressing, right? And they talk about, like, as a group, they're like getting together to throw a baby shower for Shauna. And Misty and this new girl are talking, and she's like talking about a time that they made a boy named Joe, not they, but like I think a bully or something. They made Joe ate a frog, and I said, poor Joe, homie ate a frog. And my next note is that I hate these new kids. I mean, I guess that they were always been there, in the background, just like not talking or whatever, but I don't know. I just don't like any of the new kids. That's just me personally, though. After they talk about homie Joe eating a frog, they talk about like, wow, like they were like really sitting there, like trying to like move on from what they did, but they need to acknowledge it first. So one of the girls was like talking to Misty. She was like, "Can I tell you a secret?" She's like, "What?" She's like, "You won't believe it." She's like, "What?" "This is not my first time eating a human." Misty's like, "What? What the fuck do you mean?" She's like, "I had a twin that I absorbed her in the womb." And Misty was like, "What? No way." She's like, yeah. And then Coach comes back from pooping, walks in on them talking, and I don't think he hears what they're talking about. They're not talking about anything crazy in particular, but he can't see these girls the same, bro. He's like having trauma visions, and he's like seeing them foaming at the mouth, getting ready to eat Coach at any moment type shit. And I feel bad for Coach. Someone free Coach. Someone save him, please. We go back to the flashbacks, okay? Because Coach goes to lay down, and he's having a hard time processing what happened. And then this is where that flashback from Coach's perspective with his gay lover. It changes at this time. Now they're having like an argument or something. He's like, the girls need me. Like, I'm the coach. Like, we might win nationals this year. This is how like crazy this has been for me. And Paul's like, oh, and I don't need you. And I'm like, bro, you're a grown man. Oh, his name is Paul. I wrote Paul says. So apparently Coach Ben's boyfriend is Paul. I'm like, Paul, you're a fucking grown-ass man, okay? Just, if anything, just wait till the season's over, please. Like, come on. And then my sister has the funniest line ever. She says, hey, I think Coach Ben might be sad. He's definitely sad, but I thought that made watching the episode a little bit more bearable, these little side comments that we get during the notes. So Natalie takes Jackie's bones to the plane. R.I.P. Jackie, I wrote immediately after that. And then she goes, rest in peace, Jackie. We're sorry for eating you. And I was like, damn. That was kind of sad. I don't know. That moment was just a little sad, I think. But because you can see that Natalie definitely didn't have any control over her actions. She was just like acting on instinct. Because, when you're in this kind of traumatic environment, you just function off instinct. So I think she's the only one that kind of feels like like this needed to be done. Like Shauna was sad, like afterwards, like everybody was like, yo, that sucked, but like I'm not hungry for breakfast today type shit. But I think Natalie is really like just trying to keep her humanity in this moment, and we see in the present that she's maybe having a hard time reclaiming her humanity, I want to say. But she apologizes for eating her. And she, I wrote, my next note was always give thanks to your food. Well, in this instance, she kind of thanked her for dying, I guess. She was like, yeah, sorry we ate you, but thanks for keeping us full. And then she sees a big fucking white moose, bro. Big ass moose. Like, I'm talking huge white moose, bro. And my computer's about to die. Anyway, so she goes to shoot the moose and she missed. And he was like, you fucked up. You shouldn't have missed. He's going to fuck her up. I wrote. My next one was like, because we were yelling. And then the moose hits the plane that she's in and it just disappears. And then my sister's like, what the fuck? That's over? I'm like, yo, he's probably waiting for her to come out. He's probably about to fuck her shit up as soon as she steps out. She's like, what? He's hiding? I'm like, yeah, he's fucking white. What do you mean? Of course he could hide in the snow. And then my sister was traumatized after that. So Randy's getting interrogated. We're back in the present, and Misty's like, hit him, punch him. And the guy's like, what? No. And he's like, are you okay, man? He's like, hold on, I'll be right back. I have IBS, irritable bowel syndrome or something like that. So he goes to the bathroom, and Misty's like, you gotta punch him. He's the only guy that I know who he is. You know, you gotta punch him. You gotta really. That's the only way you'll get your answers. And he's like, fuck it, okay, I'll do it. And so he goes, he starts punching him in the face. He's like, ow, sir. And then he pulls out a bone saw for whatever reason. And then I go, poor Randy. And he talks about this sus group in a van. He's like, hey man, like I wanted to get some Fanta, but there was no fucking orange Fanta anymore, and because the vending machine was out of it or something. And then he's like, yeah, because this group has been like being all sus, wearing all purple, and like they were at the vending machines one day, and I just steered away from them. And she was like, Missy had this idea. She's like, all right, I think we can check those records or whatever. And then he's like, oh, I want to hack them. We can hack them. And then Misty's like, yeah, obviously. And she's like, oh, you know, I didn't want to admit that I was able to do that. And they're having this weird, like, are we friends? Can we be more than friends? I don't know, type shit. Flashback time again. We're there with the girls and this one random girl who's like the theater, just kid, nerd lady. And she's talking to Misty. And they brought up that she has an acting coach. And I was like, what the fuck? Aren't you like a freshman? What do you have an acting coach for? Anyway, Thaisa's having a bad time with coming to grips that she ate Jackie. And my sister goes, crisis. That's all her note is, crisis. And I said, Van, you had one job, is to try to control her while she's sleepwalking. And you know what she does? You know what she fucking does? She talks to sleepwalking Thaisa. She's like, hey, I'll let you go if you let me come with. And then sleepwalking Thaisa's like, I'm in, let's do this. I'm like, Van, girl, you got one job. And then Van's talking to Thaisa, and he's like, yeah, I only come out when Thaisa lets me type shit. So Thaisa's got mental problems, multiple personalities that take over her body type shit, because he's like, so who are you? And then he goes to answer, and then Thaisa comes back. She's like, what are we doing? She's like, we're outside. You brought me here. She's like, no, I didn't. I was sleeping. She's like, no, you weren't. And so we've got a little bit more crumbs from this Thaisa arc. More crumbs, more knowing who she is and what she's doing. Anyway, we go back. We're back with Jeff for a little bit. He's at the gym. He's throwing up 35s on overhead press like a fucking badass. And he sees the cop. And he goes to Cop Kevin. He's like, yo, you made my wife upset the other day. Why? Leave her alone. He's like, whoa. I just had some questions, man. It wasn't nothing too crazy. And then he reveals to Jeff that Shauna's been cheating on him or whatever. And Jeff already knows. And, you know, we've got this arc with Jeff already, like how he helped figure it out for her, with her type shit. And then so Kevin's thinking he's breaking the news to him on some crazy. He was like, what? She would never. I'm gonna trust and believe her because of unconditional love. Blah 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 blah. So I think he made the situation worse with Kevin. Actually, I think there might be some more questions that need to be asked on his end. No thanks to Jeff, but Shauna takes an Uber to this sketched out place, and the Uber is being weird. He's being annoying. I'm like, yo, just leave already, bro. Like, leave her there. That's where she wanted to go. So she had a tracker in her car. I think maybe it was the tracker from the duffel bag that they gave the money, and they found the tracker with a duffel bag with no money in it. So that was an interesting thing I just like discovered on my own just now. I'm like, it must be the tracker from the first season. And then my next note says, I love this arc with Shauna with a gun. And then she's talking to the guy who stole a car, and she's talking about skin. She's like, you ever tried to peel back skin of a dead person? And then my note for that one was, skin is kind of crazy, huh? It's really like your biggest organ. And she says, and I quote, people are always so sweaty when you kill them. Oily even. She's like, it makes it harder to peel back skin. And then Shauna has the gun to this guy, and the guy's like, yo, man, like, you don't want to do this. You're scared. Like, if you put a gun at somebody, you're going to have to want to use it. And then she says, I'm not afraid. It was shaking because of how badly I wanted to do this. And then I wrote a little side note. I was like, I would have made him beg personally for his life, but Sean was like, give me my fucking car back. Give it back. He's like, yo, the keys are right there. Just grab it and leave. And then we get another flashback, different altered flashback. Instead, after this fake argument he had, he goes back to his lover. He's like, hey man, I got dressed. I was in my car going ready, I had my bags. I was going to the airport, but I came here instead. He's like, I don't want to live that life, closeted soccer coach. I want to be free and blah, blah, blah. And then on the TV it says, tragedy, strike, flight, blah, 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 never made it to where it needed to go. It's crashed and search teams are on the way. So I think this was a sad moment in two parts because it's something probably Coach Ben wanted to happen. He wanted to be with his, with, what's his name? Paul? His name is Paul, I think. He wants to be with Paul, but I think he just wasn't brave enough to be with Paul and be able to do all those things Paul wanted. And ultimately, I think he just regrets like coming on this trip after. I think only after because they ate Jackie, honestly. At the baby shower, Misty gives this weird monologue about from this movie called Steel Magnolias. And the monologue was when the mom was talking about losing her daughter, who the daughter was like the main character that we were kind of following out throughout the movie. Gives a monologue about losing her daughter, that she wanted to die before her. She didn't want to have bury her own daughter. She now has a son. At that he'll never know how like amazing and beautiful and great his mom were. And I think that was just a weird monologue that Misty gave throughout the at the baby shower, but people fucking ate it up. My next fucking notice, what the fuck is this? I'm uncomfortable. After that monologue, we get this moment where Thaisa's really like fighting her demons, And we go back to the present after the Randy interrogation, and Misty is like trying to leave, and the guy's like, hey, why are you downvoting my posts on Reddit, bro? And she's like, oh, that's not me. She's like, yes, it is. I know it's you. And he's like, you're trying to fuck my credibility? And she's like, no, I'm friends with the mom, and he was having problems and maybe a little bit of a drug addiction, and it would kill her to let any information come out regarding that, so I was just trying to be a good friend. And I wrote after that, I was like, what a weak cover story, Misty, shaking my head. I'm like, he doesn't believe it, LMAO. And then he wants to tag along with Misty. He's like, hey, like we can like handle stuff. We could do shit, me and you. We can go on this investigation. And I was like, yo, bro, definitely a bottom. So we go back to the present, and we're back in that place that Natalie's being held hostage or whatever. And I put all my homies hate Lottie and Lisa. So Lisa's like a new character that gets introduced. She was on CW Supergirl as Dreamer. She was like that transgender superhero. And I was like, that's where I know this girl from. And Lottie's like asking Lisa, she's like, can you forgive Natalie for tying you up and like leaving you behind? And while she tried to escape, she was like, I don't think I can. And then Lottie's like, so here, stab her. And I was like, whoa, they promote stabbing here? And anyway, they hug, and I put a little hug emoji. Boom, we flash back to the past. Shauna is at her baby shower wearing this weird crown thing, and a bunch of birds fly into the cabin, really we're really getting into these like satanic symbolisms in this show here. And she walks out, and then she starts bleeding from her nose outside, and Natalie's like, hey, don't touch the birds, they could be carrying disease or whatever. And then fucking Lottie goes, hey everybody, let's grab our spoils, grab the birds, we're gonna make food, oh my god. And I was like, this whole event was kind of spooky, I think. And then in my head I hit, yo, what if her baby is Satan himself? Wouldn't that be crazy if she gave birth to the spawn of Satan? And then as that scene progressed, I put, Van is such a follower. Why do people listen to Lottie? And then we go back to the present, where Lottie is having her own kind of like schizo like imaginations, and she goes to those bees that we talked about earlier. I was like, oh, R.I.P. the bees. She pulls out the little bee thing, and it's like a bunch of bloody bees. And then she snaps back to kind of reality, the current reality. And I was like, oh, the bees aren't dead. And that is the end of the episode. It was a very weird, oddly paced episode, in my opinion. But I can't wait for the next one. The trailer looks kind of crazy for that one. But again, a solid is 6.5 to 7 for this episode. I think it's only the weakest episode so far because we have to wait every week to get new episodes. I feel like it would get a different rating if all the episodes were readily available to watch at the same time. But we'll see you next week. Same time, different day? Question mark? Who knows? But I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.